Hey there, and welcome to This Explainer. If you've ever felt like the psychology of dating is basically a giant unsolvable puzzle, trust me, you are absolutely not alone. Today, we're unpacking 10 highly effective, completely ethical, and scientifically grounded psychological tricks from our source material that decode the actual science of attraction. We're going to break down exactly how human psychology operates in romantic settings and turn all those fascinating insights into clear, actionable steps you can actually use. So let me ask you this right off the bat. Is there a real secret formula to attraction? Or is it kind of like an overhyped book? You know the ones I'm talking about. The marketing is incredible. The cover is flashy. It promises to give you the world in 3 days. But then you actually open it up and the pages are practically empty. Well, when you're trying to get into a relationship, but your actual day-to-day life is completely boring, that's exactly what you're doing. You're giving someone great marketing with zero actual content. To fix that, here is our roadmap for today. We're organizing these 10 tricks into a three-phase journey. We'll start with building your personal foundation, move into creating the initial spark, then deepening the psychological connection, and finally, we'll wrap it all up with the ultimate dating takeaway. All right, let's jump straight into our first phase, building your personal foundation. Because any genuine attraction absolutely has to be built on a rock-solid base of who you really are. Okay, let's dive into this. Having your own interesting life is the literal foundation of getting a girl to like you. You just can't rely on superficial marketing. Imagine, instead, having a genuinely amazing life, doing awesome things on your own, and being able to just say, hey, I really like having you around. Want to stick around with me? That is often literally all it takes. Making your own life inherently interesting is the starting base that subconsciously makes people flock to you, because it proves you don't need someone else to make you happy. Building directly on that, you need an authentic hobby or passion. And I mean authentic. Programming, motorcycling, cooking, drawing, reading, playing an instrument. It really doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's real. Having a true, non-faked passion from this list makes you infinitely more interesting and adds a massive amount of respect to your personal foundation. But you can't fake it. If you claim you love carving chainsaw art, but you actually don't care about it, that spark just won't be in your eyes. When you are truly passionate about something, people notice, and that energy is undeniably attractive. Now, this next trick might sound a bit obvious, but it is a massive deal. Hygiene. The source material gives us a wonderfully literal step-by-step guide here. 1. Wash with body soap twice. 2. Shampoo your hair and dry off. 3. Apply good deodorant and put on clean clothes. And 4, please listen to this one, max 2 squirts of cologne right on the wrist and neckline. You absolutely do not need to douse yourself in a gallon of body spray. You just need to smell presentable. That is literally all it takes to trigger a positive olfactory response in someone's brain. And rounding out your personal foundation is confidence. Working out these core groups, arms, legs, and core or cardio, just 3 days a week boosts the self-awareness and security necessary to complete that foundation. Why? Well, because confidence is all about being self-aware, knowing your insecurities, and actively working to improve them. Physical exertion builds that inner security. It releases endorphins, fixes your posture, and literally changes how you carry yourself when you walk into a room. So, foundation is set. Let's move into phase 2, creating the initial spark. This is all about the psychology of those crucial early interactions. Now, what's really interesting about this is something called the Benjamin Franklin effect. Fun fact, Ben Franklin actually used this exact technique to get his political rivals to like him. Here's how it works. Asking someone for a small favor, like picking up a pencil, triggers a psychological response without being manipulative. Their brain subconsciously thinks, well, I'm doing a favor for this person, so I must like them. Combine that with consistency bias, where people psychologically hate being inconsistent with their past actions, and asking for a small, harmless favor effectively tricks the brain into building an initial spark of affection. Just, don't overdo it. Next up, making her laugh. You don't have to be a stand-up comedian, but humor proves intellectual strength, which is a huge evolutionary draw. Telling jokes puts you higher up in the social chain. Plus, here's a really brilliant little trick. When a group laughs, watch where her eyes go. People naturally look at the person they're most interested in when they laugh, because they're subconsciously seeking validation for their joy. It is a fantastic, built-in gauge of interest. In our wildly distracted world, giving someone your absolute, undivided attention is incredibly powerful. You've got to make eye contact and make mental notes of what she's saying. If you can bring up specific details she mentioned earlier in a later conversation, it makes her feel uniquely special. Attention is practically the ultimate currency of attraction right now. Spending it completely on one person makes them feel incredibly valued.
All right, moving right along to phase 3, deepening the psychological connection. We have the spark, so how do we use psychology to build lasting trust and comfort?
And this brilliantly illustrates one of the biggest dating misconceptions we found: the massive difference between building a true friendship bond and just passively sitting in the friend zone. Being her friend proactively means going the extra mile, leaving little notes in her car, sending good morning texts, talking through problems. If you're doing these things, you are practically halfway to dating. The friend zone, though, that happens when you remain completely passive. You don't communicate your intent or go out of your way. Be proactive. As that comfort builds, you want to break the touch barrier, strictly in a non-sexual way, of course. Employing simple actions subconsciously signals comfort. Touching her shoulder, grabbing an item out of her hand, playing a quick game of rock, paper, scissors, or even coming up with a cool handshake. It breaks the physical tension. But, and this is absolutely crucial, if she seems scared, uncomfortable, or disgusted in any way, you stop immediately. This is entirely about mutual comfort and respect.
Another incredibly powerful psychological trick: tell her secrets. Sharing slightly embarrassing personal facts opens the door for reciprocal trust. The source material points out you should only share things you'd eventually be okay with others knowing. The examples they give range from having 11 toes to voting for Trump. Whether it's a quirky physical trait or a political vote, sharing these vulnerable facts neutrally proves you trust her. And she'll naturally begin to mirror that vulnerability and reciprocate.
So the crucial point here is this: psychologically, we like and trust people who trust us first. It's human nature to be a little guarded around new people. When you take the leap to prove you trust someone, their brain lowers its evolutionary defenses. They mirror your trust, and that deepens the connection exponentially. It all starts with you taking that first step of vulnerability.
Okay, let's bring it all together. Phase 4, the ultimate dating takeaway.
I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Are you ready to stop looking for hacks and start building your foundation? As you've seen, these 10 psychological tricks aren't some weird magic spells or manipulations. They're just the natural byproducts of building self-respect, presenting your absolute best self, and actively fostering mutual trust. So take these insights, ditch the empty marketing, and go write a genuinely interesting book of your life.